Hello, Tyler DeWitt here. So I want to talk about how you can build and scale a digital marketing team. There's several ways of going about this. Clearly, first thing you need to do is find talent. Are you hiring a full-time person? Find out what type of person you're hiring. Some companies prefer to hire like a senior level marketer, and then they'll outsource a lot of the work, to like freelancers. Other companies will hire, a senior level person to manage the relationship with other agencies. Then some companies will bring everything in-house, from their VP, their director, down to their manager, to their employees. So there's several ways you can go about growing and scaling a digital marketing team. Clearly, whoever you hire, you want to try to focus on people that have industry experience, but I would not always put so much emphasis on that, because sometimes you can bring someone from another industry into your industry and they can do very well. That's a risky move though, so you got to be careful in doing that. For example, I had no experience in insurance, but I become one of the top partner in insurance.com within a year. I produced more revenue for them than anybody else in history. I had no experience in the supplement industry, but I quickly grew a supplement brand to $275,000 a month in sales in under 16 months. But I have an entrepreneurial mindset. Everybody's different, but the safe way of going about it is focusing on hiring people that have industry experience. As I mentioned, has this person worked for your competitor? If this person's worked for your competitor, chances are they might be good for you too. They will probably have some quirks. They might do things a little bit differently, but you can get them up to speed, get them trained in on how you go about things. And best of all, do you see somebody, or you're interviewing someone that has worked for 2 or 3 companies before yours, and it's in the same industry, and they had a lot of success working for those 2 or 3 other companies before yours? That might be a good talent for you to hire, for you to interview. You also want to pay attention to how often that person worked at the previous company and the company before. If you see a person that's been jobbing around from job to job to job, they never tend to work anywhere longer than a year or 2, you got to be really careful in hiring those people, especially if you're using a recruiter, because if you're using a recruiter, that money is going to be going out to the recruiter, and if that person decides to work for you for 6 months, 12 months, and then they jump somewhere else, well, you've lost all that money that you paid to that recruiter, unless you're doing your hiring internally. Try to focus on people that have worked somewhere before, 3 to 5 years. Those type of candidates have a huge potential to stay with you for a long time. My aunt is actually the vice president for a recruiting company, a huge recruiting company, and she does all their consulting and everything. That's all she's ever did was recruiting. She's a headhunter. That's what I used to call them in the early day, headhunters. Now they call them recruiters. She also emphasized then the same thing to me. Be very careful on interviewing or hiring people that tend to jump from job to job, because those people are not going to be very loyal. They're going to do the same thing with you. They get bored fast, and they lose their productivity fast, and then they start looking for their next job. You want people that's loyal, and that's going to stay with you, and that's going to stay productive. And when you find these people, or whoever you decide to hire, you also need to challenge them. One thing that we did when I spoke for Digital Marcon down in San Francisco, I did a closing keynote combined with the workshop. And I did a master class. My master class was Google Ads. And what we did, it was called Google Ads Masterclass. That's what it was. Excuse me, I had to think of there for a moment. We did the Google Ads Masterclass, and what we did was I spoke on Google Ads on the best practices, then did a closing keynote, and then we had everybody come back about 30 minutes later on a workshop. And we had a workshop, and what we did, we set everybody up at different tables, and then we challenged them, and we asked them what they was going to do differently for their company or their clients based on what they learned from me. Every table was thinking differently. They was actually trying to figure it out, but eventually the alignment kicked in. And we got them to think of how they was going to do things better, differently, faster, and how they was going to optimize their process. And that's what you need to do with your team too. After you hire them and you get your team built up, you need to set up workshops. And you need to get your team thinking on how they're going to do things betterly and differently. How are they going to accelerate? Don't teach them how to do it, but actually put them out there and ask them, how are we going to do this better? Say you hire an outside consultant or your VP or vice president does a workshop. Have your VP or whoever, your senior level marketer, do a workshop with your team. And then you want your senior level employee or whoever to challenge the newer employees, the ones with less experience, and see exactly how they were going to respond to everything. So there's several different things that you can do to get your team to work harder and be more creative and be more productive. You can also hire outside consultants, as I mentioned earlier, to even come in and challenge your vice president or to collaborate with your VP. Maybe, say you're not a digital marketing firm, but you guys are looking to gain more insight in your industry or what even other people are doing in other industries. Clearly you want to keep it relevant as possible. But you can hire an agency to come in and consult with you guys on what they think that you can do better. And then you can apply whatever you think is going to work best. You got to keep an open mind. But to really build a high-performing marketing team, you really need to focus on people that have a lot of experience in your given industry. These people do not tend to job hunting, job hopping, and they have a solid working history producing results for other companies, and they've been there for a while. Stay away from those people that's been working somewhere else for 6, 12, 18 months, and they got 10 different jobs on their resume. Red flag. I actually have this process. Anytime that we're hiring a full-time employee or we're bringing someone in, I look for people that have at least 3 years at their previous job. Once it starts getting down to 1 year, 2 year, it's quite questionable. There again, it depends on their age. If they're 25, they just got out of school, and they've jumped around a few different jobs, that might be okay. But when you have someone that's 30 and they've had 5 different jobs in the past 10 years, you need to question that person. There again, depends on if you want to take the risk of interviewing them. They have 5 different jobs and it's all in the same industry. Ask them, what's going on? Why are you working at so many different places? You just got to, take extreme conscience with those type of people because they're not too reliable, stable, and they just tend to, hop around. They're like a rabbit. They don't stay in one spot. They're looking for their carrot that they'll never find. So, and when you get these people in, make sure that you challenge them any way and every way that you can. Workshops do excellent. Anytime I do my speaking engagement and when we do workshops, they've always did phenomenally well. It gets people thinking. It really gets everybody's alignment into place. And even when I did the workshops and when we went around and questioned people at the tables on how they was going to do things differently, based on what I said and taught, they still was not up to par. And that's why you want to put them on the spot and challenge them and ask them what they're going to do better because they're still going to be thinking of it. And then you provide feedback. Your executive team, your vice president, whoever's in charge from your senior team needs to challenge them. So that should be it. And be sure to subscribe. And hopefully you got something from this. Thank you.